Hey BookTube, welcome back to another update. I've tried filming this video several times and for some reason I tend to ramble. I can't get my thoughts around the books I want to talk about because I've left too long of a gap again between updates and I have too many books to talk about. I just gotta stop doing that. So let me jump in. I'm going to try this again. I apologize if I'm kind of all over the place or I kind of rush through these because like I said, I'm trying to get my thoughts around what I want to say. But the first book I want to talk about is one I read in June for Pride Month. This is called Upside Down by N.R. Walker. I mentioned this book during the Mid-Year Book Freak Out tag. It's a book that made me extremely happy. It was a very funny book. It was a very informative book looking at a gay relationship as it develops between two asexual characters. One who is well aware that he's asexual, the other who's kind of coming to terms with what this whole identity means for him and how it seems to be turning his world upside down. And yet the other character is going to show them that perhaps now that he's aware, maybe perhaps it's all right side up after all. The story is told from the point of view of Jacob, the one character who's sort of coming to terms with this new identity, and also from Hennessy. Now, Jacob is gay. He's a introvert, outsider, geek, book lover. And he gets very anxious and nervous, and when he does, he babbles quite a bit, and it's hilarious. Some people on Goodreads said that the babbling kind of just drove them nuts. I found it endearing and hilarious, especially when he drops the F-bombs at the most inappropriate times. Hennessy's a little more self-assured. He's well aware of his asexuality. He's been to support groups, and now he's moved to Jacob's town, and he's hosting his own support group, and that's where the two characters meet, and their relationship starts to develop. Particularly on the bus that they come to realize they both travel on the same route for a short period of time, and as that relationship develops you see the other bus riders around them watching this, and it was just delightful to see their reaction, and the whole story was just really, really sweet. I really enjoyed it. And next up was the Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I listened to this on audio. It's kind of a retelling of the Iliad. I think most people have heard about it already. Beautifully written. I don't know what took me so long to get to this. This is told from the perspective of Patroclus, Achilles' very dear friend. Madeline Miller adds a sort of gay relationship that develops between the two. Whether that existed or not, don't know, but this is how the characters are brought together. I really, really enjoyed it. You see the character of Achilles and how he changes from this young man and who starts to come into his own as his fame sort of kind of precedes him, and he has a lot of pride as he goes into the Trojan War. He doesn't want to take commands from the other kings. He thinks he's above this. The fates have aligned, you know, his demise. He's aware of what can happen if a certain incident happens, and he's trying to avoid it at all costs. Patroclus is well aware of this as well. But I love the bond that forms between the two characters. I love the way the story was told. I was interested to see how it was going to continue to the end, since Patroclus was telling the main story, and if you know the history, you'll know his outcome, and I was wondering how they would tell the story to the end of Achilles. But it was beautifully told, and I really enjoyed the audio drama as well. And I listened to another item. I guess you would call this an audio drama rather than just an audio book. I'd listened to the first two prior to that and mentioned them on one of my updates. I don't know that I've done the third one here, but this is audio drama number 3 of Baker's End. This is called Taddy Bogle. It stars Tom Baker playing a sort of bizarre version of himself living in a town called Happenstance, where a lot of weird supernatural things happen. It's a multi-actor drama, lots of sound effects, lots of weird things, lots of weird dialogue, delivered predominantly by Tom Baker, but he makes it very enjoyable and super hilarious. I really enjoyed it. Also for Pride Month, forgot to mention these two. I read these two manga called My Brother's Husband. This is volume 1 and volume 2 by Gengura Tagami. It's a 2-volume complete manga set basically about the gay society in Japan. It's sort of closeted. It's not, people aren't open, same-sex marriages are not allowed within Japan. And it features this young man, Yaichi. He had a twin brother named Ryoji who had come out when they were younger, and it caused sort of a distance between him and his brother, who had been very close up to then, being twins especially. and even with their parents who have since passed away. But he ended up moving to Canada where he met Mike, and they got married. And something happened where the brother then dies, and Mike, trying to fulfill a promise that he had made to his husband, that they would one day go back to Japan and he would meet the in-laws and visit all the places that he grew up as a child and loved. So he comes to fulfill that promise, and he meets his brother-in-law, Yoichi, and his younger daughter, Kana. You can see the sort of uncomfortable sort of expressions on their faces at the first meeting. In fact, Mike, as the guy opens the door, gives him a big hug, and he's like, "Hey, back off, what are you doing?" And he's just uncomfortable about the closeness and just everything about it, I guess. He doesn't know how to deal with this man, this gay man who was his brother's husband, and trying to explain things to his daughter too, and how she has an uncle, and she's like, "How's that possible?" I said, "Well, he married my brother." And it's like, two guys can marry, and the father's like, "No," and he's like, "Well, yeah." And he's like, "Well, not in Japan." And she's like, "But why not? If two people love each other, why can't they marry? Why is it okay over there and not over here?" And through his daughter, you see his prejudice and things sort of starts to question, what he's been told to believe, I guess, through his own culture and society, and he starts to be enlightened along with his daughter. And it's just delightful to see the changes that overcome him, and you can even see it right in the second volume cover alone. And he starts to see that there are all sorts of families. And I really liked it. It was really sweet. It was hopeful as a new generation kind of comes in and is more accepting, and hopefully that's the way things will go. But the artwork itself is just fairly simple. Nothing spectacular. Lots of white spaces you see quite often. But it's just interesting. The storyline and the character development I really enjoyed. Another audio that I listened to was called In Farley Field by Rhys Bowen. It's a mystery. It's the first one I've encountered by this author. It's set during World War II at a place called Farley Place. It's the manor home of Lord Westerham and his 5 daughters. And their house has sort of been divided. They've got a certain little small section of it while soldiers are billeted there. And the war kind of comes to their home front when the body of a paratrooper is found on their property, having the parachute apparently failed to open, and the soldier fall into their death. But the problem is no one recognizes this English soldier. It doesn't belong to any of the troops. Something suspect about his clothing and the tags and markings on him and stuff. And MI5 ends up kind of coming in to investigate it under the secret of an operative by the name of Ben, who is an old family friend of the Westerhams. And the book is full of a lot of secrets. A lot of people have secrets about them, like Ben. No one knows he works for MI5. One of the daughters works for Benchley Park, I think it's called. She's like a code breaker. They don't know that that's what she does. They think she's just a secretary in a government office. So all these sort of secrets about people, lots of secrets. The mystery itself wasn't fairly complicated. I think in the end it was pretty easy to determine what was going on, who was like the person was trying to connect in terms of the spy network and all this stuff. And it was just an okay mystery, but I like the writing. I'll probably try something out by her some other time, but I'm in no specific rush. Another book I finished is the Palliser novel number 5. This is called The Prime Minister. Focuses on the Duke of Omnium, who has now become the Prime Minister. Position he isn't really that excited about. It seems like not as excited as his wife, the Duchess. She's absolutely thrilled that her husband is now, the top official, and she is doing a lot of maneuvering in the background, inviting lots of important people to their home and letting them spend time there, and surrounding her husband with these people and making connections and kind of trying to influence her husband in a way, sort of being part of politics in the best way or the only way that a woman could in that time. And some of her maneuvering, particularly with a man named Ferdinand Lopez, causes a lot of chaos. He tells his wife to kind of stop with this enough. He won't hear of any interference in that manner, and He does not want Ferdinand Lopez taking up a government position, and it causes a big rift within the family. This particular character, Ferdinand Lopez, has a whole like side story going on within this book surrounding him. He's probably the one character within this series that I hate the most. Second only, no, actually not second only. The second would be Lady Eustace. He tops the chart. I really did not like him. He claims to be in love with this young woman named Emily Wharton, and of course, Mr. Wharton does not want his daughter to marry this man who doesn't seem to have any means of his own. And in fact, he doesn't. He has some sort of shady business things that he doesn't seem to be putting any money into, really. And he's looking to marry Mr. Wharton's daughter, and in turn, getting some kind of annual salary or something to help support his businesses. And he keeps using his. He keeps using Emily sort of to get, to be a go-between between him and her father to get more money and stuff throughout the book. And I just really, I thought he was despicable. And it, like I said, he causes a rift through the Duchess's interference. But overall, it was another really great story. You see this this theme kind of going with the young women and falling for the wrong man and people trying to dissuade them and or keep making bad decisions. It started from the very first book of Can't You Forgive Her, even to the Duchess early in the series when she was in love with somebody else, and it's like a recurring theme. I see it happening again in the next book, which I'm currently reading, which is The Duke's Children, the final book in the Palliser series. Had a devastating first line. Do not read this book before any others. But yeah, I'm only like on chapter 10. I should be much further along, more like around chapter 30 by this point. So I've got some catching up to do to be part of the read-along that's being hosted on Steve Donahue's channel. I'm also currently reading an ebook called Susanna Morel by Megan Chance. I previously read her book, The Venetian, which was, is it called The Venetian? I think that's what it was called. Blanking out now, but it was a kind of Venetian ghost story, and I just finished reading that one. Why am I blanking on the title? I think that's what it was called. But anyway, that was just an okay ghost story. It wasn't ghostly or spooky enough for me, and it didn't give me enough of the Venice feel to it. This one's set more during the Salem witch trials, which I haven't read anything in that time period in quite some time. It's kind of funny that the character, one of the main characters' name is Susanna Morel, and my real name is Suzanne Morrow. Different spelling, but I saw that I had to pick it up and try it out, see what it's all about. But this particular woman goes to her sister's home as she's about to give birth to her child, a baby boy. She's already got a daughter who's living, and just as she arrives on the doorstep, her sister passes away, but manages to deliver the child. And so she ends up staying on and helping take care of the child, and the daughter, I don't know, she has a weird feeling about her aunt. She turns towards some old friends that she used to hang out with that her mother didn't like, and they're kind of, I don't know why she sees evil in her aunt, but she doesn't see the evil in her old friends, and it's really bizarre. But the story is told like through the first half from the child's point of view, the young girl, and now I'm about halfway through, and it's switched to the father's perspective, and I think he's going to end up, sounds like, falling in love with his sister-in-law. We'll see what happens, but I think there's going to be some accusation of witchcraft or something going on, so we'll have to see what happens with that. And the audiobook I'm currently listening to is Redshirts by John Scalzi. I previously read Locked In and Head On, two books in the same series by him, which I absolutely loved. They were, I think both of those were narrated by Will Wheaton. And he does this one as well, and this one's just great. It's sort of a hilarious kind of sci-fi spoof. It kind of pokes fun at the old Star Trek series, the original series, when the captain, first officer and medical officer or whatever go down on away missions all the time. Why would you take your top people and send them on away missions, And the person in the red shirt never seems to make it back. They made a spoof on that on Galaxy Quest, that one movie, where a bunch of actors, out-of-work actors, end up being approached by aliens who visit, and they think these people are real. They think they really were existing on a ship and had all these adventures. There's a heroic captain, and they need help, need to be saved by the from these aliens, and the one guy that used to wear the red shirt on the show says, "I'm gonna die. The guy in the red shirt always dies." And that's what we're encountering here. There's a new crewmate aboard the Intrepid, and he's coming to learn that every time there's an away mission, the captain, the first officer, and a lieutenant seem to make it back, except for, you know, the other people on the away mission suffer, you know, huge bodily injuries or death, or there's something weird going on. There's something wrong with the ship, he says, and he's now starting to investigate. But it's funny, whenever the captain shows up in the lab or something, everyone instantly disappears. He looks around like, where the hell did everybody go? How'd they disappear so fast? And now he knows why. You know, don't go on board the bridge, stay away, and avoid the captain at all costs. But it's given me a lot of chuckles, so I'm really enjoying it so far. But anyway, made it through one take. Hello, hallelujah, it's done. Hopefully it'll upload. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you guys have been reading, and I'll see you next time. Hopefully not too distantly with another update. Bye-bye.